Central. Thank you for joining us this bright and beautiful Tuesday morning. We, of course, value your thought and your opinion. So even though we're going to be having guests joining us to dissect some of the stories, we also want your opinion as well. We're streaming live via New Central TV live on YouTube, where you can drop your comments and we'll be very, very delighted to take them. My name is Olive MOD.
And I'm Benga Bro. Welcome to Breakfast Central. This is where we bring you all the latest news, information, and analysis on the biggest stories happening in Nigeria and sometimes across the continent. So many things are happening. Uganda's president has won an unprecedented 7th term. He's starting a 7th term after spending 40 years in power. And his son said they killed a number of opposition supporters last week, and he hopes that Bobby Wine will be the 23rd victim. And it's led to a lot of reactions. We'll get to that in the course of our conversation. You're welcome. Sit back, relax, grab a coffee, and tell your friends to tune into DSTV channel 422. Something great is happening this morning.
Something big is going on. Oh, that's
something massive.
Something spectacular is going on. Anyway. It's good to be here. Good morning.
Big word.
I'm trying to remember the song. There's a song.
No,
something.
It's not applicable. It's talking about something
I don't know.
Aquatic is going on. Something in the aquatic realm.
I don't know.
Something fishy.
Okay, something fishy. Oh, okay,
yeah.
Okay, all right. Anyway, don't mind us. You know,
we're big fish in the broadcasting industry. Are you not a big fish? Are you small in this world? Or is it Johansson?
It's my fault. I started this. I'm sorry. Please, let's go back to the program. Anyway, welcome to Breakfast Central. It's been a sad weekend. It was a dark weekend for Nigeria. Yet again, because of the killings that did take place in the northern region once again. Everyone is talking about it. I think the most painful one is a mother who was killed with 6 of her children. One of the sons was even thrown into the well. It's sad that we're starting the show this way, but these are the things that you need to know when you wake up in the morning. And when you say, thank God, you say your prayers, your morning prayers, you should remember that some people are not opportune to kneel down and say their morning prayers because a fellow human decided that, listen, they're going to play God and take their lives away from them. And so far, so the government hasn't even put out a clear statement on that. So everyone is still expecting that they will do the needful. Aside from that, there are other stories as well that we're looking into. The Makoko issue has elicited a lot of conversations. Yesterday, the president was signing the Lagos State fiscal allocation, the budget into law, 4.4 trillion naira. And in the process, he had to talk about the Makoko issue. And he said, listen, that in other words, he was blaming the NGOs that they're trying to profit from the Makoko incidents. No. And then he talked about how they had spoken to the Makoko residents for over, I think he said about 2 years or so, including the chieftains, the bales, and the likes. But the sad story is people did die. That's what we heard. And reporters, our own reporter was also there, Niyo Moni. And hopefully, we would be bringing to you a report as well concerning that. 10 persons we do here died, including a baby who also died as a result of the wake of trying to ensure that they clear people out of that area. Is there a provision for them? We do not know. But sadly, I can say one day, if we all agree on Breakfast Central, we need to dedicate 1 hour, and I'm going to use this medium to also speak to the MD CEO. Let's have a town hall on the housing deficit in Lagos. Absolutely. It is a major chaos that is waiting to blow up.
And the drive for luxury housing, housing that is not all-inclusive, nobody's even building, and LSDPC too, the Lagos State, how many houses are they building? Looking at the housing deficit we have, and how much of it is affordable to even the workers of Lagos State. So these are conversations that we need to have.
When Lagosians start to reminisce, and reminiscing, they start to sing old musical tunes of a particular name, otherwise known as Jakonde. Jakonde. And then they go as far as singing Marwa, Marwa. Then you should know that the governments that succeeded these names have done one thing. Either they failed woefully or they've not lived up to
the interesting thing about Jakonde is it did all of this in less than 5 years.
That's it.
Right. I mean, the housing deficit is really a challenge that we need to tackle head on, because, like Benga said, we're not building inclusive housing. Those who are in the upper echelon of society are the ones that are able to afford some of the relatively decent houses, and even at that, they're complaining terribly. What should have been the middle class is complaining bitterly. So I shudder to imagine what those in the lower class are having to endure, all because they do not have access to decent housing. I mean, look at this. It's unimaginable to think that a city like Lagos will have some of its residents living in areas with such deplorable living conditions. The Constitution does provide the right to dignity of human persons. However, the houses in which some of these residents have to live in takes away that right, because it's nothing, it looks nothing like dignity. It's not dignifying in any way for them to live in these kind of houses. At the very least, we expect that government involves itself and invests in housing to make it affordable for citizens. And when we're talking of citizens, we're not talking about those who have connection in government, or who, when they decide to sell properties, will use their influence to get their relatives to buy these properties at affordable pricing. We're talking about those who actually cannot afford it and those who actually need it. It's a terrible thing, and we unfortunately are making Nigerian citizens internally displaced persons.
Oh yeah,
not
even
by
in your
virtue
country.
of earthquake, not by virtue of natural disasters,
governance.
but because we do not have policies that protect the quality of lives the Nigerians have to live, and that's a shame.
And policies that are all inclusive.
Yeah.
But because what the policies we have are just favoring a few.
Yeah.
I mean, how many you hear when you hear things like the 1% or the 1% living on an island? Okay, that's fine. Where does the 9% or 99%,
the majority of
99%, where do they live? Go and check where they live.
And one of the reasons why they did this is because, you know, a lot of tourists have been coming there, and the government sees this as an embarrassment, that why are you showing this part of Nigeria? But it's there. I mean, if you don't like it, do something about the quality of life there. So the government has successfully...
And we must not look down on the people who live in Makoko. Makoko has produced so many influential people who have taken what looks like lemons and made lemonade out of them. Some of them have been, against all odds, been able to go to school and make decent careers, you know, of themselves. So we cannot look down on these people. They're humans. They deserve a decent quality of life, and not to be thrown into the wind and made internally displaced persons. We'll continue to follow up with the housing situation. I mean, away from Makoko, even those in the middle class.
I was about going there.
Just yesterday, somebody was saying they increased their rents by 100%. How do they increase rents by 100%?
When your salaries are being increased by 100%, how do you just make such a unilateral decision? And how do we then ensure that, because I was speaking with a friend in Canada, and she was saying that her landlord had increased her rent arbitrarily by 15%, no, I think 20%. And then she wrote to him, because there were laws guiding that, saying you cannot increase by 20%, and wrote to him. I think he was only allowed to increase by either 5 or 15%, I'm not sure. And then he reversed it, because there was a law guiding how much you can increase. And she knew her rights.
So what sort of provisions do we have in Nigeria in our tenancy laws for tenants? The tenancy law as is in Lagos State, to an extent, strives to protect the tenant. But is it enough?
Has it been enacted? Has it been put into?
Oh yes. So there is a law.
Because I know they were reviewing it. They said
so there's a law that already exists. The problem is that the law as it is a far cry from implementation. For example, tenancy law of Lagos State forbids certain parts of Lagos State, most actually of Lagos State, for asking for 2 years rent. There were exceptions in few areas, but it was a norm at some point where people would typically ask for 2 years rent, where they would ask for agency to the tune of 10%, agency legal 10%.
10%.
And if you ask, even this legal, they don't even give documents. Yeah,
because of the housing deficit, the huge deficit, people are desperate. So
if you don't take it,
the compliance, exactly. If you don't take it, somebody else will take it. And I mean, the landlord's prerogative at the end of the day to decide who wants to rent his house.
Move on from the housing issues. But if you're streaming live with us on YouTube, you can tell us via the comment section what housing is like, what your experience is in getting houses in Lagos, either as a landlord or as a tenant? What
Even
your
in
experience
Abuja as well.
with housing is
Yeah.
in Nigeria, wherever you
Nigeria
are.
generally.
Please drop a comment and I'll be taking the comments. But let's talk about the recent win that has showed a high level of lack of sportsmanship and team spirit. And I'm talking about the AFCON champions here, Senegal. Senegal beat Morocco 1-0 to win the AFCON 2025. However, Morocco didn't seem to take this very politely. Now, Senegal was criticized for storming out of the game at some point during the games. However, you can't also ignore the forces, the many forces that Senegal had to fight, from Hakimi taking the towel of the goalkeeper, of the Senegalese goalkeeper, tossing it behind. I don't know if we have
To
that.
the ball boys there.
Yes, he tossed.
Okay.
Yes, he threw
to a
the
match
towel
official.
to the ball boy.
And this was
Nigerians and Nwabali too, facing
They
the same
threw a
thing.
banana at him, he threw the banana, he ate the banana and then thanked the Moroccans.
Like, and
So
you
that's
understand
the
that there is
incident.
a...
That's the reserve goalkeeper.
That's the reserve goalkeeper holding the towel.
Diouf with for Senegal. That's,
look at
that's
it.
Hakimi.
He throws it behind and then
But
he
very
runs after, he picks up his towel.
unsportsmanlike behavior.
And why this is such a terrible thing is you think it's not just a towel. It's very, very shady. It was raining, I believe. Their hands are
No, and
slippery.
then-
And even why
exactly.
do you feel the need to do that?
And this is a man that has played at the highest level in PSG.
Yes,
All
a
goalkeepers
champion.
around the world have towels because to dry
Towels
their
or
hands
face guard.
and they can have grip.
I mean, this is somebody that has been an African player
beyond
of
the
the year.
game, the nation of Morocco, their behavior yesterday, they were very
Was
hostile
abysmal.
to travelers. I mean, they were singling out Senegalese, they were cancelling tickets, they were just being very unruly.
Now, reports
which is
having that the
unfortunate.
airports turned off the
Wi-Fi, yes.
and that they would ask people clearly, are you Senegalese? That they always had, even some Nigerians recounted on X, how they had to double identify themselves to let them know that they're not Senegalese. And so what if
And
they're
what if
Senegalese?
you're Senegalese?
So if you've been waiting to win AFCON for the past 50 years and you missed your shot,
look
so
at the
what?
player.
You came close. You got to the second place. You came close enough to win the AFCON. And if you didn't win the AFCON, there's always another chance. But with this kind of character, what this tells us is that there is no spirit of sportsmanship, and
Yeah, and-
CAF has been silent about this, or CAF has not acted in a disciplinary measure. By the time countries know that when they act in a certain manner, that there is thorough disciplinary measure that will be instigated or instituted against them, and they put strong punitive measures, you ensure that you ban them from hosting for another 50 years. You will see that people will sit up and not act in certain ways. You know?
It's sad, but anyway, the update simply is that the FIFA president did put out a tweet condemning the Senegalese
It's condemnation enough?
Senegalese players.
No, he didn't even
for
mention
he didn't
a
mention
single
Morocco at
thing
all.
about
He didn't say
Morocco's
anything about
conduct.
Morocco.
Gianni
I just heard what you
Infantino.
said.
Yeah, Gianni Infantino,
Condemning
FIFA
the
president,
Senegalese?
condemning the Senegalese
Wow.
team
For
for
walking
having
out.
left the the spirit of sportsmanship, how they lacked that. He also went as far as also talking about the inappropriate manner in which they behaved. Now, in all of that message he put out there, there was no single one, just as Bing has also highlighted, that spoke to the Moroccans for their bad behavior. And this is one thing that everyone should condemn. Aside that, yesterday, the Senegalese coach has been suspended indefinitely. They said how many years, not mentioned, but CAF has gone ahead to suspend him,
Was the
especially
suspension
for...
as a result of the fact that he walked?
He told the team to walk out, to leave the pitch, and everyone should leave the pitch. I mean, listen, there are times when you see, I think
You need
we
to
can
stand
learn.
up to injustice.
Yes, that's where I'm going to. And this should be a lesson, because we're seeing a ripple effect of certain actions taking place in different parts of the world. And that is as a result of injustice. I keep saying it.
Asking them to
Yes,
come back to
told
the
them to
pitch.
come back.
He was very applauded as well for this action.
When it comes to actions, I was looking at this game yesterday and I said, what are the 5 things that even politicians can learn from this game? You know, this pretty much looked like, I can liken this to an election period where you might want to find your way around it. You know, when it comes to elections or politics, you play dirty, trying to take the
ballot box
towels,
snatching.
box snatching, you get what I'm saying? Trying to, come surround the referee, intimidate him. The fans, I mean, the Senegalese supporters were not even up to 70,000 compared to the number of the
mean, they were
Moroccans.
probably 5%
Just 2,000
of- yeah.
plus, almost not up to 3,000 that were there.
Oh.
And then you had over 70,000 of the crowd. And then there were people who were even seated next to the Moroccan supporters who were black. Videos are out there, they're on X. They told them to stand up and leave and get out, that they cannot sit there, that they're monkeys.
And you know what is sad is when we talk about our continent, when we talk about Africa, the influence that we have, the wealth that we have, and the fact that we need to unite as one. You know, the question is, does North Africa see themselves as part of us, right? If you look, I just did a random Google search, and I Googled Senegal, Morocco. First article I saw was a BBC article, and look at the headline. AFCON final, Senegal temporarily leave field after Morocco awarded controversial penalty. That was the first one. Second one I saw, Al Jazeera. Senegal, Morocco play out an embarrassing AFCON 2025 final in Rabat. Then Sky Reports says, Africa Cup of Nations final, Senegal's shameful walk-off Mars victory over Morocco as Sadio Mane slam start.
So
look at the headline.
I mean, it's the Western media would always highlight the negatives and you know, just highlight the negative results. So many brilliant things happen in AFCON. The talents that are discovered, the goals, the play, the entertainment value, and we shouldn't just focus on the sad incidents in the final, and that's what the mainstream media, Western media, seems to focus on. And talking about North Africans and seeing themselves as Africans, Morocco's case is particularly peculiar because Algeria fought a very serious war of independence. It was bloody with France for several years, and in the streets of Algiers yesterday, people were celebrating Senegal's win against Morocco, and even in Egypt. But the Moroccans seem to be very special. I remember Pan-African figures like Gamal Abdel Nasser and also Bembella of Algeria. But but Morocco has in the past applied twice to join the European Union. So they don't see themselves, they call themselves Maghrebs. They see themselves as Arabs or European sort of, and they don't see any connection with that.
Yeah,
and I think the African Union needs to, we're not begging anyone to be part of Africa. If you're geographically situated in Africa,
then
you don't like it, then
in Africa.
Yeah, they should pave the way to.
Or maybe to add the sarcasm here, or maybe ask Trump to come and claim.
Yes,
Trump
is he can claim anywhere around the world now.
And because they didn't give it to him, he said, you know what, I'm no longer peaceful. I am going to be a man of war.
The reason
I'm not obliged to be peaceful.
The reason I highlighted, you know, how the Western media so far has interpreted what should have been a graceful match, what should have been a moment of champion and triumph for Senegal, and even a moment of triumph for Morocco as well, because second place is also a win. I mean, even if you don't come out first place, you got to the final.
But it's their sportsmanship.
But it's unfortunate. It's because of how we have put ourselves. You know the way they say that you've given somebody a chance to be able to insult you in a way. We have been able to put our dirty linen in public.
No. Everybody has dirty linen. In the Euros, in competitions that they host in Europe and different parts of the world, you have hooliganism. You have serious hooliganism. English fans that are unruly, that are drinking, that are hooligans.
I remember in France when they were setting everywhere
but they're not going to frame the World Cup as, you know, hooligan.
Why I'm saying
World Cup
this is we need to do our own, and I'm glad that some of the Nigerian media, the African media, that I've seen, I've told the story the way the story should be.
That's how it should be.
Senegal has emerged as champions of the AFCON, you know, the AFCON. And we need to do better, really.
You know, Moroccans were doing monkey chants, eating banana and dancing.
And burning the flags. And burning the Senegalese flags.
You are part of Africa. You are insulting yourself.
As in, they say they are not Africans.
They are geographically
So I think bottom line is, just to add, CAF needs
that's
to...
the video of them.
Of the monkey chanting the banana.
Okay, but just to confirm,
Morocco should never.
We cannot confirm this video because I saw this video on X and I saw the notes, the community notes where they said this wasn't the Moroccans actually, that it was the Algerians that were doing this to insult Morocco.
Olive.
I don't care which person did it. It is wrong.
That's what we're going to.
And nobody should ever disrespect anybody like that. We're all one continent.
But what we can confirm is they threw a banana at Nwabali. And he ate the banana and said thank you to them during the Moroccan game.
They did all sorts. They burnt the Senegalese flag. They did a whole lot. What we're trying to say now is, up until today, CAF has not released a statement. So we're hoping that CAF will release a statement, and we're also waiting.
Not just statement.
No,
statement and
yes,
action.
that's what we're
Back it
saying.
up.
And in the statement, CAF should clearly state that due to their actions, they would have to review future hosting rights.
They shouldn't host a
to
game.
Morocco. And going forward, if Morocco feels that they are not Africans, then why are you competing in
Yes,
AFCON?
they should go compete
On
in
YouTube,
and compete
in the comment section,
somewhere else.
Chukwemeka says, CAF is compromised. The North
CAF is like
Africans
African
are
Union.
terrible
CAF
when it
is like
comes to
African Union.
sportsmanship, and not condemning the Moroccans is biased at
You
the
see,
highest
Absolutely,
You see-
spot on.
You see,
Chukwemeka.
the truth is, until Africans start taking care of themselves internally, the world, even your neighbors, I want to use this analogy. If in your house, you're always fighting, you're making noise, you know what they call see finish. Your neighbors would not respect you. They'll be like, oh God, please go and sit down. You're always shouting, you're causing problem. But if you carry your carriage, if you take care of yourself, you handle your things.
From leadership.
That's
because
it.
the leaders inspire the people. People always talk about Lee Kuan Yew, but look at what's happening in Uganda, for example. I mean, the
son of the president saying he has killed opposition members and is waiting to kill one more to increase the numbers. And
with
guess
no
what?
consequences.
The African Union said
They've already sent congratulatory messages.
yeah,
to
I mean,
Museveni
former
for his
president
landslide
Goodluck
win.
Jonathan.
Yeah.
Many have criticized him for having also, you know, how would you say that was?
Let's quickly head to X. Let's see what Nigerians are saying about
The problem
this, and then
plenty.
come back to
Football
the
mixed with
most
Football mixed with politics.
And it's
On
geopolitics.
X, Femi Oba says, they are scary scenes, absolutely shocking, coming from the Center of Excellence. No, this is regarding the
Makoko demolition.
Makoko. Bring up, please. Please, let's go to the tweets about AFCON. Thank you. I'm not sure if this tweet is applicable.
Let's see. I think we have the Makoko tweet.
Let's check another tweet.
Let's see if we can get
we'll come
some
back
other
to take more
AFCON tweets.
More AFCON tweets. But let's move on now.
But before you move on, Oliver, I'm sorry to take us back to AFCON, back to Rabat. 2 journalists were killed. There are different headers that
They've been
said
critical
they
of
died.
refereeing.
There's a header that says, mysterious death. And there's some headers that are trying to hinder or keep the story at bay. What happened to those journalists? Again, CAF has a lot of work to do. Not just CAF, but I'm expecting that the countries from where these journalists came from should be able to ask for an inquiry to be done, especially on the death of these journalists who spoke about the Moroccans and how they behaved, especially towards Nigeria versus Morocco match. And after that, all of a sudden, silence, and then you find them dead.
Yeah.
In their hotel rooms.
I mean, what sort of coincidence is that?
I don't get it.
So a thorough investigation needs to be done, absolutely.
Anyway, let's move on to our next story very quickly. Olive, this one is what they call the coconut head.
Okay, but let's
syndrome.
take reactions from what Nigerians are saying on the Moroccan incident.
The General Snow says, so Morocco is being very hostile to other African nationals, including Egyptians, by shifting and cancelling their flights and asking them to apply for refunds. Refunds they do not even know when they will be processed. They switched off the airport Wi-Fi and deployed military and police officers with guns drawn inside the airport. What kind of attitude is this? Who told them that hosting the tournament means they have already won it? Our people were even forced to present their Nigerian passports just to confirm they were not Senegalese.
Absolutely
disgraceful.
From Morocco.
CAF should cuckoo let the Maghreb have its own Cup of Nations open only to North Africans so that the rest of us can have our AFCON back.
I agree.
Burkina Faso hosted and didn't win, nothing happened. Nigeria and Ghana hosted and didn't win, nothing happened. Mali hosted and didn't win, nothing happened. Ghana hosted and didn't win. Angola hosted and didn't win. Ditto Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, South Africa, Cameroon, Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda will host in 2027. They won't win. How did you know?
They won't
How did you know?
My brother, they won't
Nobody
win.
will
Is it
die.
perfect?
But once a North African team hosts, they have to win it or else the sky will fall down. They should form their own confederation and let us hear what I beg. They need us much more than we need them anyway. Well, this is what we're talking about, and that's what we mentioned earlier on. They should just remain in Morocco, but Nigerian brothers will reciprocate if they come here. No, I don't think so. I don't think we would have time for all of that. We have a lot to deal with. Oduduwa's firstborn. Oh, really? Omo Bayo says, like, I don't even get it. If they thought it was voodoo, seeing a second keeper hold it for him and resist it from being stolen or confiscated should be proof that there's no hanky-panky. It's just a normal towel to clear sweat. Conduct of Morocco was really, okay, they said the towel was voodoo, so they had to keep carrying it. The person that carry white hand no swell up.
Or bend.
Sulaiman Samusidin says Morocco should never host any tournament after this, and they must be heavily punished.
Look, even Monopoly or Ludo tournament, they should not host.
Even Abula.
Okay. Let's move on from Morocco and Senegal to our next story. A diesel-laden tanker overturned in the early hours of Monday on the Tinkan-Liverpool Bridge in the Apapa area of Lagos, prompting a dangerous scramble as residents and passers-by scooped the inflammable product from beneath the bridge. Eyewitnesses said the accident happened during rush hour before traffic officials arrived, with viral videos circulating online, like the one you're seeing here, showing people collecting the spilled diesel in jerry cans and other containers. The Lagos State Traffic Management Authority said the bridge was immediately cordoned off while the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service neutralized the spill, adding that the road has since been reopened and traffic is easing as arrangements are made to tow the tanker away. The Lagos State government and the National Orientation Agency condemned the scooping of fuel, warning that the practice is life-threatening and must stop. The incident has revived memories of deadly past tragedies, including the October 2024 petrol tanker explosion on the Kano-Hadeja Expressway in Jigawa State that killed over 100 people who were attempting to scoop fuel, and another tanker explosion in October 2025 in Niger State that also claimed multiple lives. Let's play that video again. So we see, this is a tweet from last month, by the way, where they had said they probably thwarted the impending inferno following diesel tanker mishap on Liverpool Bridge, Mile 2 Corridor, Apapa, and they basically let us know what the findings are. But let's share the video, and then we'll come back to take what Nigerians are saying about this. Let's play the video.
To arrive, leaving the scene largely uncontrolled, the dangers of diesel scooping, loss of lives. To arrive,
very unfortunate scene there to see the diesel tanker exploding, overturned rather, and then people are scooping fuel, and it highlights a number of things. One, the fact that we don't hear word. It's not today we've been talking about how dangerous it is that when an accident happens, the first thing you're not thinking of is scooping products from the tanker, be it diesel, be it fuel. That's not the first thing to think of. But secondly, it highlights again an incredibly poor people. Poor not just in terms of resources, but poor in mindsets that you'd be willing to risk your life to scoop a bucket, 2 buckets of diesel to sell for how much? The level of desperation people will get to be able to scoop diesel, to sell and make ends meet. That is the poverty. Poverty of the body and the poverty of the mind. We'll go on a break, and when we come back, we'll share what Nigerians are saying, but get your comments in the chat box on YouTube, and we'll take some more stories when we return. Please stay with us. Let's now bring you what Nigerians are saying regarding the unfortunate incident where we had an accident. The diesel tanker overturned and Nigerians were rushing to scoop diesel as opposed to not potentially endangering their lives. And then when we come back, I'll get final thoughts from Benga and Joe. He said these are scary scenes, absolutely shocking, coming from the center of excellence, not one remote village. Those people there are potential barbecues. Arrest them all based on this CCTV. Sorry, none exist. Video evidence to serve as a deterrent, Femi Obaf says. Lagos is one place I can never ever reside in. Auntie, why now? I visited that place and I couldn't stay even for even more days. The risk, the toxicity, the lifestyle is just something else. Imagine the risk these people are taking. See someone without a shirt on. His body is already mixed with fuel. What if a little spark from nowhere? How will they survive? This is sad, Emmy Gold says. The great survivors, the almighty resilience, the eternal endurance, the everlasting perseverance. People will never learn. Just one mistake here and everywhere would they smell as soon, he says. And Joy K says that is the level of, exactly, that is the level of poverty in Nigeria.
No, it's mental poverty. I don't
so
get
that's why
that.
I say
People everywhere in the world.
Chemino says these people must have extra life at home. So that's what I was saying, Benga. It's physical poverty and it's mental poverty. When you get to the point where you say all
look at this woman. Look at, she came with her bucket.
I saw a video on social media recently. In China, goods truck was making a turn and it spilled its contents. He had drinks, and the people of the village gathered and cleared together. Number one, this is theft because that product doesn't even belong to you. Number two, you're risking your lives.
Inside there.
You're risking your lives. This is not about, okay, if you sell 2 jerry cans of diesel, how you will spend the money in less than 2 weeks. Is it going to keep you? Will it make you a billionaire? Will it keep you forever? And I need to thank the men of LASMA, the Lagos State Emergency Response Agency, for the swift response in moving that truck out of that area and cordon off the area. This is this is highly commendable. And we also have to be the element of luck that diesel is not as flammable as PMS. If that was PMS, the story would be different. Yeah.
Anyway, that's all we're going to take on Wake Up Conversations. Nigerians, we do hope that we can learn from our previous or past mistakes. Although there's one question I want to leave us with. The federal government has said they were going to set up a committee to look into the incessant accidents of these trucks and so on. Till today, that committee has gone into comatose. Nothing was heard. We wonder how many more committees are we expecting. Otilo too is gone. Let's take a look at our top stories this morning. This morning on Breakfast Central, gunmen abduct 177 worshippers in Kaduna. It happened over the weekend, and we have an update on that story as well. Federal government assigns less than 1% of budget to poverty, hunger in the land. FCTA workers begin indefinite strike over unmet demands. How come? Where is the 001 of the FCT? Medical negligence in Nigeria is a conversation that has caused a lot of drama. And don't forget, we have the newspaper front pages. Stay with us. This is Breakfast Central.
According to the details of the 2026 appropriation bill, the federal government has allocated less than 1% of the entire national budget to poverty alleviation programs, despite the country's alarming poverty rate and rising cost of living. Analysts say this allocation is troubling, given that recent data from the 2022 National Bureau of Statistics that indicated that year 133 million Nigerians were living in multidimensional poverty, a figure that has continued to climb and, of course, amid inflation, job losses and stagnant wages. Critics have argued that while government spending on infrastructure, defense and administration continues to rise, social investment and welfare programs have been drastically underfunded, raising questions about whether the budget, that is the 2026 budget, truly reflects Nigeria's development priorities. This revelation comes at a time when citizens are already feeling the weight of new tax policies, subsidy removals and currency reforms, all of which have intensified economic hardship for low-income households. To unpack this for us, the implications of this low poverty alleviation is the founder, CESO Empowerment Foundation, Jonathan Ichava. Good morning, Ia. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
All right. Given Nigeria's current poverty rate, does allocating less than 1% suggest that poverty reduction is absolutely not a top government priority? And if we were to judge by what other developing nations were doing, what should be the best way to go about this?
Yes. So, to be honest, when I saw that headline and I read the article, of course, we've been involved in working with poor people for many years. I also sit on the board of a microfinance NGO that works to support economically active poor women, particularly in business. And when I saw that article, the first thought that crossed my mind was the Nigerian government is not serious.
No, Iya, are you still with us? I seem to have some what she started with. The answer is obvious. She says the Nigerian government seems not to be serious about tackling poverty in Nigeria, but there's still quite a lot to unpack on this issue, and we have so many questions to ask our guests. We hope we can reconnect with her pretty soon.
And I get the sentiment when we see that, for example, defense has always gotten the highest budget over the years, yet we're not even done with the challenge of insecurity. In case anyone wants to bring up the argument about the fact that no matter how much you allocate to poverty, we may never be able to completely get rid of poverty. What we can do, however, is live above the poverty line, get many Nigerians above the poverty line, reduce the number of multidimensionally poor people that we have in our country. We keep increasing the budget to defense, yet with every year, we're still fighting insecurity, and some people don't seem to get.
And it would be nice to know what poverty alleviation is. Is it just giving handouts exactly, and or creating an economy where businesses thrive, where you could have shared prosperity, where you could enable entrepreneurs to scale up and then employ people, pay them livable wages and things like that. And it's not like you're reinventing the wheel. Vietnam has done it. China has the world record of moving the largest people out of poverty in such a short time. So these are lessons we can learn from other countries on how they did it. And it's and I'm happy you mentioned defense and security, because poverty is tied to insecurity, because if people aren't poor and desperate, they won't be easy recruits for non-state actors and violent extremist groups to induce them with certain amounts of money. If they're gainfully employed, if they're not desperate, then you will not have that pool to choose from. So it's a win-win situation. When you take care of poverty, you also take care of insecurity. Do we have any? Let's check if Iya is back. Yes.
Okay. We hope to reconnect with her when she returns. But then again, don't forget that Nigeria has Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. We know that ministry was fraught with a lot of negativity, especially with the fact that some monies that were declared to be missing from that ministry up until date as we speak, we haven't recovered that money. The persons who were involved
have not been prosecuted.
They have not been prosecuted. They're still working freely.
So relieving someone of their appointments is not just
no, it's not. It's the same thing we keep saying to the police officers who, the Nigerian police force, when they do catch one of their members who has been involved in unscrupulous acts, and all they do is they say he has been relieved. He's now facing other trial and so on. That's not all. The question is, what happened to the problem? The problem is the major issue. The problem still remains what the focus should be on. And that's exactly what we have here. When you have a ministry, the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, which is responsible for policies, social protection, and the likes, and then you're now allocating just 1%. I was looking at it in Canada, for instance. If
your overall population, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
We have 133 million people living in multidimensional poverty, and you're allocating 1%. If you had 100,000 people living in multidimensional, then that 1% will do, or 1 million people.
That's another angle to look into. Another problem we should also highlight here is the fact that when we talk about alleviating poverty in Nigeria, what we think about is one word that I hate so much right now: palliative.
Palliative handouts.
I think palliative is the bane of Nigeria ascending into becoming a land of poverty. And I'll explain why. Because when you brandish poverty to look like a bag or a small bread, agege bread, a small box that contains agege bread, sugar.
I mean, it's the tokenistic approach to dealing with
What are you doing?
Yeah. But let's talk to the experts. I believe Jonathan is back.
Yeah, you're there. Can you hear us?
Switch my internet.
Oh, that's fine.
Provider.
Thank you so much for doing that for us.
Okay,
so I don't know if you heard us, but you were talking before you.
Yes, I heard the tail end of what you were saying, and absolutely you're right. I mean, Nigeria keeps on going on about how it is in the international community, and our presidents and governors and everybody, they all run to China. Some of them, I'm sure, have business investments and interests there. And of course, China is the country that we know has been able to lift people out of poverty, the most number of people out of poverty in history, right? At least 100 million people they've been able to lift out of poverty. And they did that over the span of about 2 decades. And if you study what they did, what Nigeria does, they just take our government officials, just take a few bits and pieces here, put it together on paper, make these highfalutin noises, launch these big projects. I mean, they've got some of these strategies they have, and they never will put their money and their actions into what it is. I mean, they have on paper a strategy to lift 100 million people out of poverty by 2030, going by the strategy for poverty alleviation, with growth strategies that they've called it, or poverty reduction. How do you do that when you do not have electricity to be able to run industry? How do you do that when you're not encouraging industry and incentivizing manufacturing, service industry, tourism, hospitality? When you study what the Chinese did, for example, there's a village called Shibadong. I would encourage everyone to please go and read the story. You read how they sent in government officials working with experts and targeted poor households. They went from house to house, did deep data. Why is this household poor? Who are the people in this household? What is the demography? What skills do they have? What skills do they lack? Not only did they do that, they now formed these groups, those that could work, those that could do businesses, into cooperatives. Made sure they connected these rural areas to markets. Not only did they do that, they made sure whatever those people were producing, they looked at what they had comparative advantage in. That's a very basic economic concept. And of course, those who are economists in the government know this. You look at what you have comparative advantage in. Some of them could do cash crops, some of them could do kiwi fruit, and so on and so forth. And they invested in making sure those people could produce those things at scale so they could enjoy economies of scale, making sure they got those goods to market. And not only that, they actually secured and guaranteed markets at good value, guaranteed that these people could sell these goods, and in some cases, even export these goods at solid prices. And the results were incredible, that they could lift, in some instances, they had incomes increased by 30 times 35. And that's how we're able to lift people out of poverty. This was serious work. To be honest, I will say this, our government, one, they do not care, most of them, because they have second lives abroad. Many of them have second passports. If they're sick, they'll just jump on a plane. Our president does it all the time. So we need to begin to ask ourselves, are we even serious as a country? And we've answered that question in many ways. In some instances, the Chinese relocated the people. If the area was unstable, unviable, unsafe, subject to floods, they would relocate them to a safer location. We have, for example, in Lagos, demolitions happening left, right, and center, the recent one being Makoko, without an adequate plan for them to resettle these people. Are they not human beings? Are they not citizens? So that's why when I looked at this thing, I just read it and I just said, we're not serious. That our government thinks that by bandying about figures, billion naira, that, and saying we've allocated money, it's not just about allocating money. Of course, that's a very minute amount, less than 1%, but also it's about putting in the work, being serious, being sincere. I mean, we keep comparing ourselves to all these countries. They're taxing the people now, want to do more tax and all that. The question we should be asking our federal government is, okay, you're comparing yourselves to the UK oh, the tax this, our tax incidents, we're comparing yourselves even to China. Is your president, is the Chinese president going abroad for treatment? Are your senators, are their senators or those who are in their legislature, or what passes for because they're not
even the social safety nets in this country.
Some of the things.
Yeah.
The other thing that I actually missed, and thank you for bringing that up, was that there were also social protections put in place, as you said, the safety net, where they got micro health insurance, there was guaranteed access to health insurance, education, access to education, and all sorts of things, some kind of cash transfers that were necessary, in a very transparent way as well, which we are not seeing. We don't even have those safety nets in place. So I do not know how you're going to lift people out of poverty, right? If you're really serious, without safety nets in place for those who are the most vulnerable and the most exposed.
Now, we seem to have a very tough situation in our hands, and I don't see any sense of urgency, because when you have a population that is 100, when you have 133 million people living in multidimensional poverty, that's more than the combined population of, I believe, most West African states. It means it's a national security concern also, but we don't see this urgency. All we have, like you mentioned in the report, is it's quite lazy and aspirational, and they feel when you throw money at something or when you give people handouts, it solves a problem. Is it by design? Because people said, mentioned that, the political class has weaponized poverty, and it's easy to sway the opinions of people that are multidimensionally poor when it comes to elections, and just give them handouts to do their bidding. My first question is it by design? And number two, are there low-hanging fruits, little things that we can just do that would spur, that can remove people out of poverty?
I would say that perhaps it didn't start out being by design. It just started out in case of ignorance, not knowing. And of course, we don't run a meritorious system. Unfortunately, we have the oil, quote unquote, curse, as some call it. So once you're just dashing out billions every month to states for doing absolutely nothing, your productivity is not going to go into place. So as the people, of course, and your corruption is through the roof. People steal that money, reallocate it as they like. We've seen all the cases and the scandals with very little consequence. So what now becomes the order of the day is for them the political actors to figure out how can we perpetuate ourselves in power so we can continue to access this free oil wealth. So that's why they will now not apply themselves. First, they don't have the competence, they don't have the capacity, they do not have the character. The empathy is lacking, the compassion is lacking, we see that everywhere. And therefore, what they apply their energies to is perpetuating themselves in power. That is why if you have this alarming figure, it's even now 139 million estimated by the World Bank. You have this alarming figure, and our political actors and leaders, they're busy going around talking 2027 instead of getting down to the business of the day. So, eventually it now becomes by design, because that's what they know. That's what they cannot give what you don't have, right? So if you don't have the know-how or the political will to drive it through, or the strength of character, it will now become by design. In terms of low-hanging fruit, there are absolutely low-hanging fruits, even in just the way that these, first and foremost, infrastructural development is critical. And we've talked about infrastructure. I heard that in the beginning of the, when the introduction was being said on the topic. But it has to be targeted, it has to be well targeted. It has to, let's even at least allow the people to breathe, right? As our president once said, let them be able to access markets, make business easy. And for goodness sake, the need to stop these demolitions and throwing people into further poverty. Of course, you have large populations in the Middle Belt, in the Northeast, and all across, displaced. Even here in Lagos, if you drive down that coastal road, drive through at night, you can see the masses of people who are displaced. How are they even targeting those? So it's to even get that data. Number one, you have a National Bureau of Statistics, put them to work. We have a ministry, civil servants. What are they doing? Some work hard, yes, but many of them just go in. They don't. So it's to think, one, low-hanging fruit. Let's get the data. The Nigerian Bureau of Statistics already has that, right? Or have something to start with, and begin to take an example from the Chinese and accelerate it. For me, I personally think that by this time, like you said, it's a national security issue. The government doesn't seem to care. If they begin to care and throw everything they have at this, and even limit themselves to saying we're going to just focus and stay in Nigeria and do our work like the Chinese did as low-hanging fruit, I think that would happen. Just lastly, I'll say, if you look at the breakdown of this appropriation that they've done or what they've allocated, you see that a big chunk of that money is only focused on one state, Zamfara. Are we saying that only Zamfara has poor people? I'm not saying that we should not have stuff going to Zamfara, but why not do a targeting at the village or local government level and make sure that every local government has a consolidated poverty alleviation program, completely holistic, as we've talked about, and even pilot in one village or two villages, and do that across the nation, and really give it focus and be transparent with it. The government a few months ago said, they had allocated however much to poor households. Okay, so where's the data? Which poor households? Who? And I deal with a lot of poor people because of the work that we do with displaced people and people who are economically active but poor. Not one of them, and we've dealt with at least over 100,000 people or more over the years that we've been working. I've not heard one of them say, they received this thing from the government or they got ABCD or whatever.
I wanted to ask, sorry to butt in. I was just going to ask that question. Have you come across any persons who said they received XYZ from the government? Because the government keeps saying that they have data and they go ahead to give money to those who are very poor, the poorest of the poor. Have you come across
but
these
they can't
persons?
share the names because of
security reasons.
Social implications.
Well, to be honest with you, I haven't seen that, but that's not to say that has not happened, right? And that's where, again, this black hole, if you're really doing this thing, and I'm sure some of it is happening in some places, why not be transparent? Why not share the lessons learned so that we can look at, okay, what have you done? How can we improve? How can we move? Again, it's this palliative culture. It's always a palliative culture because that's the easiest. They think it's a low-hanging fruit. It's not. It just keeps people enslaved.
You're putting Band-Aid on a wound.
Yeah, go on. You said it. You thought it was easy.
I said it just, this palliative culture just keeps people enslaved, makes them poorer, steals their dignity, and does not encourage industry, does not encourage innovation, right? Look at even all the technology we're using. It's all imported. What we do the day America, for example, wakes up and decides they're going to shut down access to Facebook and Zoom and all of these things for African nations or for Nigeria. Or Gmail. Do you understand? We're not even encouraging that. Even though we have it, our national strategy says they're going to encourage innovations in these areas and that. So like I said, the Nigerian government is not serious about this. They are not showing themselves to care about the people. And we do need to see a lot more work going in.
But can't the long-term and the short-term plans work hand in hand? So yes, palliatives are keeping people enslaved, but the truth is, whatever plan the government is putting, even in the budget, it will take a while for the implementation of that to occur. So what do you say to respond to those who would argue that we can work on a long-term plan while also still providing short-term relief?
Oh, absolutely. But relief is just the beginning. And one of the things we do not see, which as you design poverty alleviation plans for households, for communities, you have to show a very clear pathway to sustainable prosperity for those people, for how you're going to lift them out of poverty. You don't just come with a bag of rice and leave for months. You've not communicated, okay, we're going to give you this bag of rice today. Next week, we're going to do some training for you on A, B, C, D, E, F, G. The following week, we're going to make sure that you get the tools you need, the assets you need to be able to develop and grow. Where in the meantime, we're working on this and that. What that does, it gives people hope. But what we're seeing is there are these palliatives just giving, no communication, no pathway, because there is no plan, generally speaking, that is going to be real, that is going to be worked with. And even when they say there is a plan and we have these strategies, they are not even being adhered to. And the assets that need to be, the investments that need to be made, the significant investments that need to be made in terms of capital, in terms of human resources, in terms of just the sheer brain power and the sheer muscle to get this thing to work and be there day in, day out and do the work and stay on topic until you deliver the goods, that we're not seeing. So yes, the palliatives come, but if you give me bread this morning, and I don't know if you're going to come back in 6 months when you need my goods, you don't come back, you might still be alive by then, we don't know. So absolutely, yes, the relief keeps people alive, but you have to do more than relief. And it has to be communicated very clearly.
All right, let's also talk about the private sector. You know, does the private sector come in? Do they have a role, or is there, you know, an avenue that they can help to also bridge the gap in the areas that we've seen some maybe failing?
And religious organizations too.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the truth of the matter is the government sets the environment in which we all operate. So the number one and primary duty of government is to secure the lives and property of people. And if the people are falling into poverty, they're not securing their livelihoods in any way, shape, or form. And you see people dying off from needless things, malnutrition, and all sorts of things. So the government has to set the environment so that private sector and all who are involved get in there. Now, private sector is already doing a lot in terms of corporate social responsibility in those interventions, but they can only work within the framework of what the government provides them with. In terms of they have to adhere to certain laws, there have to be incentives. Even till today, as we're talking to you, there's no clear law from the government that says to companies or private sector entities or even to individuals that if you donate to social programs or donate to charity or whatever, you get tax reliefs. It's not clear, right? That has not even been clearly, at least, communicated in the new tax laws, which we don't even know which one we're following now, right? But hey, that's another day. The private sector, they also pay huge taxes. In fact, Lagos State called me, and we individuals pay taxes too. The Lagos State government called me the other day, LIRS, that they were going to send me a letter. And I said to them, you people are busy. I loved your efficiency with tax collection. I wish you were as efficient with clearing trash, with making sure that the place is clean, with dealing with traffic issues and so on. So please tell your leaders, you are doing your job, I know, but please tell your leaders that we need this kind of efficiency in service delivery so that we can have a better environment to work in and you can get more taxes, right? So these are the things. If they don't set the tone, it's very difficult for companies to even be incentivized to do more. But they also work within a framework. There are certain things only government can do. For example, governments can do roads. Believe it or not, if you were here many years ago, it was Zenith Bank that did Abductions. If we remember, it was part of their corporate social responsibility. But they were working in tandem with government, and government allowed them to do that. Now, there are some communities you go to, there are companies who even want to do the roads to improve community interaction, to improve access to markets, even for those who are in the communities. Companies want to do it. And we keep hearing that when they go to the local government or even to state governments to say, let us do this road, they say, no, give us the money to do it. Meanwhile, they don't have the capacity to do it. There's no political will to get it done properly. Look at Ajosa, see the job Zenith Bank did. Till today, have you seen those paving stones sinking and whatever? Because it's a quality job brought in with all that expertise. So it was, what do they call it? Public-private
partnership.
PPP, whatever. And they did it under the spirit. For me, I think that was a real case study. It's a pity that whatever lessons were learned have not been replicated across the country or across even the state. But these are the kinds of things. If you have an enabling environment, then everyone can work together. But if I want, as a company, I want to go and do what is right, or even as an individual, you're not giving me incentives. In fact, when I go, you are coming to even ask me. In some states, we even hear. In my own state, I've heard of that experience in Benue State, where companies come, they want to do things, and the government officials themselves are busy asking them, what's in it for me personally? I want my company to get it. So the corruption, too, does not help.
So it's also a factor.
Even the little that church groups are doing a lot in what they can do. We all know they organize all sorts of outreaches. We see them, they're trying to feed the poor, they're whatever and whatever, and absolutely they have to, because that is their own duty before the deities that they serve, or God that they serve. But or religious groups, try and do their part. But the reason we have ceded authority to the government and we allow them to collect taxes from us is to secure us, to make sure that they provide an enabling environment. And if they're failing, then we need to begin to ask them questions and call on them to do better. If they cannot do better, they should shift. Others can come in and do a better job.
Now, finally, here, before we let you go, you did mention industrialization in your opening statement. And just driving around Lagos, you see an army of young men, able-bodied men, just whiling away. It's a very sad scene and situation that we find ourselves. And that scene plays out in most parts of the country. How important is it to move from consumption to production to get our industries working in order to, get these people gainfully employed and reduce poverty in the land?
It's absolutely critical. One of the reasons I stopped supporting the big major political parties well over 20 years ago was because I just thought they were not serious. And the administrations that they did were not serious. Because there are certain things that should be critical national emergencies. Number one, power. 2, water, pipe-borne water. 3, education, working on your human capital development. 4, health. These 4 sectors, if you're not ready to really do that, of course, security, right? And that's even become more relevant now in our context. If you're not ready to do the hard and work that you need to do, then that's a problem. I remember when Dora Akunyili of blessed memory, Dr. Dora Akunyili of blessed memory, was heading NAFDAC. I heard stories about some group of people who had very high connections in this country, up to the presidency, who had brought in a shipment of questionable drugs, and they were stopped. And they said, these drugs and whatever, of course, you know how they went lobbying and all of that. And they actually reached a very powerful person in this country. I will not mention the name. And the person said to them that, sorry, you have to go back and sort yourself out. On this one, we have agreed to let Dora Akunyili work and to let NAFDAC work. Now, if that was the political will there, how come we were not able to apply that to the critical areas of electricity, of roads, of health, of education, where there's so much corruption? Even the way we unbundled NEPA or whatever they called it at that time, it was fraught, and it's still fraught with all sorts of questions, and which is why we cannot get 24-hour power. If in the absence of that, if it is too much work even, why not have clear industrial zones that are guaranteed power over a period of time so that we can really activate job creation? We have the same situation with children begging on the streets. These are the young people that over the years, as far back as 20, if someone who was a child in 1999, they are now 30-something or in their 40s. The investments that should have been made, not just money, right? They've always been allocating money for certain things, but the political will, the job to get it done, to have the right people in the right places, to make sure we have children off the streets begging, because these are your future terrorists, the future recruits, and they're the ones now terrorizing the country now. When I saw that these our successful administrations were not serious about it, I knew that we were going to have a problem many, many years ago. And they've allowed this thing to proliferate. Not only, it has spread all across the nation. So we have this quote unquote Almajiri culture, begging culture of people just sitting. Even as far back, I remember 1997, when I first became conscious of this. You just see young people just wake up, young men especially, able-bodied, just sit there looking. It's a security threat. And apart from that, what are they doing? Now we have them graduating, and what are they doing? Security guards. Well, nothing wrong with being a security guard, but if you have potential to be more, the state should be able to work to help you realize your full potential. And we have them doing all sorts of jobs that are below, they're underemployed. That's the right word in economics,
Absolutely.
Right? So, yes, so those are some of the things that our governments are not looking at. Like I said, there's no pathway for any segment of the population to do well. Even the quote-unquote elderly, those that have retired, we have school teachers. This is latent skills, knowledge that is just there wasting? What about even having programs for elderly people to be able to transfer those skills to younger people? You know, these are things, yes, sometimes they come up with these ideas, but there's no political will to follow through. Sometimes even the wrong people, we have the wrong people who are heading those programs. Instead, one of the other banes of our nation is so-called political settlement. You know, we put in the wrong people in the wrong jobs because they helped a particular governor, a president, or whoever win an election.
All right.
We need to kill this and become a merit-based society.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us this morning. We do appreciate them, and we hope that we can see measurable impact flowing from this. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Have
for
a
your
great
time.
day.
You as well.
Thank you.
Let's now share what's coming up next on Breakfast Central. Over 177 worshippers in Kano Church, but there have been conflicting reports. FCTA workers begin indefinite strike over unmet demands. Vice President Shettima commissions Nigeria House in Davos.
Welcome back. Nigeria has recorded a historic first on the global economic stage as Vice President Shettima officially commissioned the country's first ever sovereign pavilion at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. The milestone tagged Nigeria House Davos is aimed at positioning the country as an active participant in global economic conversations and investment partnerships. News Central State House correspondent Bettina Willie reports.
Nigeria House at the 2026 World Economic Forum considered a reflection of the nation's renewed resolve, readiness, and seriousness to engage the global economy as a key participant and not a bystander. The Vice President is here to formally open the pavilion. He described it as a historic milestone and a response to gaps in Nigeria's past global engagements.
For the first time in our nation's history, Nigeria stands at Davos with a sovereign pavilion of its own. Nigeria House is a response to the lapses of the past. It reflects our intentions. It reflects our seriousness. It reflects our commitment. Above all, it advertises both our readiness and our resolve to take a frontline seat in the discourse of the global economy, not as observers, but as participants with a clear sense of purpose.
The Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Jumoke Oduwole, applauded the support of Vice President Shettima for the realization of the vision for the Nigeria House Davos.
Ably representing Mr. President, but importantly, a champion of this particular initiative. It was him that was first pitched, really, by the consortium of private sector that felt that the time was right, and he didn't hesitate. He supported them and sent them to the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and I. As the minister responsible for investment, I had to acknowledge and put together the letter that endorsed the official partnership with the federal government and the private sector to the World Economic Forum.
Nigeria House Davos will serve as a platform for high-level dialogue and strategic partnerships throughout the World Economic Forum as the country seeks to attract investments and strengthen its role in shaping the global economic future. In Abuja, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
In what is being described as another brazen attack on religious freedom in Nigeria, 177 worshippers were abducted during simultaneous attacks on churches in Kuriga area of Chikun local government area, Kaduna State. The attacks occurred during Sunday services, leaving communities devastated and security agencies scrambling for answers.
No group has claimed responsibility yet, but the scale and coordination of the assaults raises serious questions about the state of security intelligence, early warning systems, and the protection of vulnerable communities before and after this attack. Join us now on Breakfast Central to unpack the implications of this attack and what it reveals about Nigeria's security architecture, security intelligence and investigation expert, Dr. Yahuza Getso. One welcome to you, Dr. Getso, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central this morning.
Good morning, viewers. Good morning, team.
Now, first off, I believe it's very important to establish what really happened in Kaduna about this allegations of the abduction of 100 worshippers. The Nigerian police and the local government chairman are saying no one was kidnapped in Kaduna, and the police council insists no attack occurred, and they're demanding a victims list. And the Christian Association of Nigeria is still maintaining that a number of people, more than 100, were abducted. So what's the situation with the kidnappings in Kaduna?
Well, I think, first of all, we need to clear the air that the kidnappers are not after a religious group, are not after a religious belief, are not after a religious faith. They are just criminals who are committing atrocities and conducting their activities against both Muslim, Christian, and traditionalists. And the focus is three. One, to make it more difficult and more hard for the government, and two, to distract the leadership from governance, and number three, to make it clear that yes, the kidnapping activity is still valid activity that is taking place in the country. Now, the reality is the Christian Association of Nigeria is a community-based organization and faith-based organization. And they have the responsibility for the people and on the people for them to have explained that a number of people have been kidnapped, more than 100, and this happened in a church, and it happens on Sunday. So there is a clear correlation. The clear correlation is making it, one, Sunday-based, two, Christian-related based. So I think the police authority, or rather, all the community-based organizations or all the faith-based organizations are under the auspice leadership and supervision and the monitoring and the leadership of the authority, that is the government. And the government form part of the local government chairman, councillor of the political ward, as well as the leadership of the leading party in the state, and at the same time, the police authorities and the other security agencies, to mention the few. Now, it is very necessary and important and for us to have the CAN leadership to conduct a press briefing and provide outline number of people providing their names, providing probably their phone numbers, providing also their surnames, and then link probably if they may have their national ID or any of the identity, identify them. I expect by now, for now, the religious institutions, both mosques, churches, and the traditional religious institutions, they should have been started conducting or building a database. And not only a database, I think it is high time for all the mosques and all the churches and all other religious-based structures to have a kind of a thumbprint door, whereby each and everyone that enters or personality will be recorded, so they will know their members. And by knowing their members, whenever you come to enter church or you come to enter mosque,
Hello, Dr. Getso, are you there? Hello? Do we still have connection with...
in any circumstance, in any situation whereby you want to enter a church or you want to enter a mosque, you should make a thumbprint. And that thumbprint, the record will be generated easily, because we shouldn't be kind of doing things in analog. The world has gone beyond analog, so we should also move from analog to digital. Okay. So, and I believe the head of mosque and the head of churches and head of all other agencies, religious-based agencies, they should be able to provide such security door, whereby each member, when entering, will put a thumbprint, And if there is any incidence of kidnapping or fire incidents or any other incidents of disaster, the data can easily be generated and be published. So I wonder, between now and the time the action happened, that was yesterday, I expect the Christian Association of Nigeria to publish through the newspapers the details, names of those who have been abducted from the church. And also to provide, probably there should be some recordable items. Because I expect in each and every church at that level, I expect to have a CCTV. In each and every mosque at that level, I expect to have a CCTV. And, you know, even if there is a kind of a rowdy situation, there should be some people that can be able to use their phone to easily snapshot or conduct some kind of information generation, or use a recording device to easily generate some information that can be presented to the government as an evidence. But it is quite disheartening, disappointing, and sad for us at this time to be hearing that there are issues, government, police authority, or the security agencies are saying no, there was no abduction. The local government is saying no abduction. The state government make a clear declaration after an emergency security meeting and debunked the abduction, and still the Christian Association of Nigeria is saying no, there is abduction of more than 100
So, Dr. Getso, Dr. Getso,
their names. Can we have a random sample identity of some of them?
Okay, Dr. Getso, we have so many questions to ask. I know you're proffering solutions already, but please permit me to take you back. I think the question every Nigerian wants to know now is, was there an abduction or there was no abduction? Before we even talk about the figures, I think that's the most important concern or meat in this conversation, because if there was no abduction, then we wouldn't be having this conversation at all. Talk less of proffering solutions. Was there an abduction?
Well, actually, as far as I'm concerned, if Christian Association of Nigeria mentioned that there was abduction, then there was abduction. It is very clear.
Okay.
Because if there is no smoke, why the fire? How do fire come if there is no smoke?
All right.
Yeah,
so you've also mentioned, I mean, in your suggestion, you mentioned about how you think you would suggest that religious leaders ensure that they have fingerprints before they go into the church or the mosque or whatever place of worship they're using, which sounds like a great idea. However, we can't take away the fact that a number of these churches are not really wealthy. Some of them barely have a proper structure put up together. Churches or mosques is basically a building, right? A number of them are not as rich as you would expect for them to get a proper structure.
Or CCTV. Yeah.
CCTV cameras and all of that. Is that maybe where the government steps in?
Well, actually, I'm disputing your position. I believe that at any level, no matter how low the level may be, as far as we are worshippers, whether Christian or Muslims, I am a Muslim, of course, and I have too many Christian friends, especially in Southern Kaduna, Plateau, Benue, Nasarawa, Adamawa, Yobe, Enugu, Oyo, Oshin, Ekiti, you know, all over the country. I have many friends who are Reverend Fathers, who are pastors, and I have too many friends who are Christians. And I believe with the commitments of the religious commitments I know in Nigeria, you can't tell me that people cannot afford to fix CCTV. With less than 45,000 naira, you can fix a CCTV. How much do we have to contribute? How many worshippers in each and every church, in each and every mosque, that you can tell me that they cannot be able to collect, to put together 40,000, especially at the lower level? Let me tell you, the commitment at the macro level, at the village level, they do much more. And we are talking, remember, we are talking about life and death. Because there is already an existing security threats. There are kidnappers, there are religious communal conflicts, there are also tribal conflicts. So there are existence of emerging disaster communication that has already emotionally been transferred to each and every Nigerian, especially in Kaduna, in Sokoto, Kebbi, Zamfara, Katsina, Jigawa, Kano, and the rest of almost all the states in Nigeria. A signal has already been sent that nobody is safe in Nigeria. And it is very clear. You can see the level of irresponsiveness of poor commitment by the government, having less than 1% for fighting the poverty alleviation. If you have this, look at the indices of the budget, and look at the number of the cases, and look at the amount of money being imputed as a security votes being spent by the local government chairman and the governors, as well as the president and other ministers and the rest of them. When you look at that money, I think that money could have been utilized strategically to share some portion of that money to churches and mosques as a contribution to ensure that CCTVs and other security guards are put together, are installed in those places. And then the community will be encouraged also by the commitment from the government. If you need 45,000, the local government chairman can easily contribute 5,000, the councillor can easily contribute 5,000, the reverend can easily contribute 5,000. That is making what? And then individually, in one church session or one mosque session, if you discuss security, you sensitize people and you say you want to install CCTV. Even if it is only 40 people that are worshiping in that mosque or in that church, believe me or not, sincerely, people are easily going to contribute that money, and the CCTV or any security gadget can easily be installed. It's a
Dr. Getso.
It's a clarion call. Everybody must wake up. Nigeria is not safe, and the government is not really ready and determined to deliver the security for people and property in Nigeria. I have my reasons.
Yes, Dr. Getso, we've seen these sorts of attacks play out in the past. Attacks on religious institutions in the north over the past 10 years plus. So this is unprecedented. I mean, this is not surprising to see, and it's not something that we're new to, that is alien to us. My question is, why is there pushback from the authorities, from the local government, from the police, and from the state governments? Is it that they don't want the embarrassment of seeing that there's been a failure in security? Because, I mean, like I said, it's not a strange thing to us. It's almost becoming a norm, which is very unfortunate. But why this particular story? Why is there so much pushback from the authorities in denying or saying that, vehemently saying that no such kidnappings or attack took place? What could be the reason behind it?
I think the simple reason could be the weak government. And that could be the simple reason. The government is weak. Because if government is not weak, why do we have the division? Why do we have the separation? Why do we have the different powers shaking one another? The religious power is shaking the governance power. Because the Christian Association of Nigeria is a religious power body and it's a power on its own. While the local government chairman, the governor, as the police authority, are another government. So why can't we have a good coordination? It means there is a poor coordination, it means there is insubordination, and it means there is a politicking, and it means government have not been doing, taking its responsibility. Because why do we have the division? When the authority of the Christian Association of Nigeria is insisting that people have been abducted, the government and the police authority are insisting that nobody has been abducted. So as far as I'm concerned, I believe more on the Christian Association of Nigeria than that of the government, than that of the police, because it is very clear that you are weak. I'm talking to the government, that Obasani government and the leadership of the local government and the police authority in Kaduna State, you are operating a very weak system. You need to go back to the drawing board, because you're supposed to be the owners of the community, and you have to take the whole ownership of both the lives and property. So if there is a conflicting issue in such circumstance, within 24 hours or within 12 hours or more than that, the religious body is saying, no, we were abducted. You, the government, you stay in the government house You stay in your police division, you stay in the local government secretariat, and you are arguing that there was no abduction. So how do you justify it? You have the authority over the Christian Association of Nigeria, the DSS, the police, and the military. Bring together, bring on board, bring to the table, and bring all the news agencies in Kaduna State, all the press members, bring them all together. Make a massive mobilization of all the media houses and invite the Christian Association of Nigeria and ask them to justify what happens and provide evidence. That is when we will believe you. But if you cannot do so, you just go on media debunking that it didn't happen, then we have to blame you. We have to accuse you. We have to challenge you that your house is not really in order. There are issues of poor coordination. It means the government is becoming weaker and weaker. It means there is no coordination. Because any government that cannot coordinate with components that make power. Because Obasani or the local government chairman didn't find themselves there simply, but because those people from that area have contributed by using their votes, casting their votes for Obasani and the local government chairman. So it is the responsibility of Governor Obasani and the responsibility of the local government chairman and the councillor to provide them to have a kind of a coordination mechanism that will provide safety and security for the people within the territorial integrity of Kaduna State. And if there are issues, it is not about going through the media. This one is challenging, this one is about proving. What are the proven evidence that you have that there was no abduction? How do you justify to the public that there was abduction in the Christian Association of Nigeria? Who has the authority over who? I believe the local government chairman and the Kaduna State government and the police have the authority over the Christian Association of Nigeria and the Muslim community and all the citizens of Kaduna State. They didn't say that operations happens on the air. No, it happens in a specific given church, in a specific community, in a specific local government. Hold them accountable and bring them up to board.
So, Dr. Getso, Dr. Getso,
it happens or it didn't happen.
Dr. Getso, let me come in here as well. I mean, we do have images, as you can see there on the screen. Also, our reporter was on ground. We can rightly say now with this conversation that we're having with you that we may not be able to ascertain the exact number in terms of 177 persons. But the question I also want to ask you is, I want us to go back to this incident, this recent one. And we must sincerely apologize as well for some of the footage we may be showing to you on the screen. It may not be images that I would say is indeed palatable or so. But then again, Dr. Getso, this incident has happened. CAN has not released the list of names of persons who were, in case, abducted. However, this happened on ground. What is the correlation between the local security in terms of the security who are within that particular area and the Nigerian army? And have you heard of any statement, especially being a security expert, from the Nigerian army or from the police? Has there been any intel that has been shared? Did they come with motorbikes as usual? And where did they take them to?
Well, the reason why I didn't even talk about the coordination between the non-formal, that is the community-based security, is because it is now kind of challenge or kind of a fight at the high level. You know, one two elephant fight, it is the grass that suffers the most. So the community are suffering the most. Whichever way, the kidnappers can come in any way. But as far as I'm concerned, I have seen in the news yesterday night through the Nigerian Television Authority during their 9 to 10 usual news. Governor Obasani and some other people were debunking. And I saw also a cycle, a roundtable meeting where the military were in attendance, the police were in attendance, and other people who I might believe are DSS and the rest or whatever, because they call it emergency security meeting. And during that emergency security meeting, all the relevant agencies are expected to be in attendance. And for me, I have seen the military in their uniform. I have seen many of the Nigerian army officers seated, and I have seen the governor, and I believe the police were also there, and the DSS, some people were there without uniform. I'm not sure whether they are DSS, but I assume they are DSS or people from the intelligence. You cannot dispute that all the agencies come together along with the government of Kaduna State to debunk it. But there is no any member of the Christian Association of Nigeria or the traditional leader or religious leader or any of the philanthropists from that community in Kaduna State that were in attendance or participated to have debunked the incidents that it didn't happen. Whether there was intelligence, whether there was information, whether they came using bike, whether they came on foot, whether there are informants who gave them a place to hide in their houses. Because, you know, once such incidents is happening or is about to happen, there are unscrupulous elements among Nigerian citizens who contribute by collecting the arms of the bandits, and they will keep it in their houses. They will even hide, some will even keep use their houses as the hideout for the bandits, and they will monitor the church or mosque activity or traveling activity or whatever, and then alert the bandit to come quickly pick your gun and quickly go and attack them. And in some instances, they will park their vehicle far away from the town or at the outskirts of the settlements where they want to conduct their atrocities. There are situations whereby they force one of the drivers, also a driver in the community who own a car, to park whosoever they abducted and also drive them to a certain place where they will take their motorbike and move into the forest or into the where they want to go and keep their hostages or the kidnapped persons. So there are different strategic and scenarios which they are doing, but whichever way, the argument remains. There are footage, there are pictures, there are videos flying, moving around from that community, and we have not seen governments bringing to the table, to the round table discussion, mobilizing all the media houses and asking the Christian Association of Nigeria, Kaduna State, or that local government chapter, or the community chapter, to debunk that there was no abduction as being proclaimed by the Kaduna State government and by the police authority.
Wow. A lot has been said, no doubt, and it also seems that the government might need to step up its game. I mean, I don't know, but I'd just like to leave my final question to you. Now that this has happened, and now that there's an interplay on how many the numbers were in terms of how many people were abducted, and then there's a case of, okay, provide us with evidences, let's know who and who was taken. Where do we go from here? You did mention a very critical issue, which we have highlighted you on the program, that when incidences like this happen in other countries or in other parts of the world, the security agencies would have a press briefing to, you know, brief the people, Nigerians at large, telling them what they know and the incidents that took place, and they would get back to them with any updates. So far, so good. We haven't gotten any presser, especially from the security agencies and government. Can you share with us what the way forward could be, especially for them?
Well, the way forward is to have people being held accountable for their responsibility and authority given. As far as we will not hold people accountable and responsible based on the authority and assignment given to them, then there will be issues. I want to refer you, yesterday in Zamfara, there was ambush against some military personnel. And before the incidents, I had an inside information, which I provided to a certain highest level of authority. But it takes 3 hours to have coordination mechanism that will have saved the life of those 6 military personnel and 1 police personnel that were ambushed and killed. And even after killing them, I still keep dragging and following up for 3 hours before the arrival of the authorities, relevant authorities, both land and airstrike. Of course, the community is a little bit difficult to reach, but notwithstanding, it shouldn't have taken them 3 hours. What are we saying? Are we really?
I guess you have a little shaky network there, Dr. Getso. Well, Dr. Getso, our time is well spent at this juncture. I want to say thank you so much for taking time to speak with us. And thanks for sharing more insights on the happening, especially the recent one there, of what we just saw on the screen. We are a bit out of time right now, but I want to thank you so much. I want to ask that you please avail yourself to us whenever we come calling again, especially on this issue of insecurity and your network, which has been fully involved. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Well, away from that story concerning the numbers and the back and forth with the Christian Association of Nigeria and the provision of the names, details, data, and so on. This is where data plays a very important part. But let's move away from that, Binga. I don't know where we're going to. We're going to the medical sector,
Absolutely.
Maybe.
Medical care is definitely meant to save lives, but for some Nigerians, a visit to the hospital ends in tragedy. From delayed treatment to wrong diagnosis, medication errors, and substandard care, cases of medical negligence are often underreported and poorly understood, raising serious concerns about the country as many families are left without answers and without justice. News Central's Aisha Salihu in this report takes a closer look at the growing concerns around medical negligence in Nigeria, the challenges within the healthcare system, and the calls for greater accountability.
Across Nigeria, residents in need of medical care throng hospitals and clinics in hope of healing, but for some, the expected care goes awry. From misdiagnosis and surgical errors to delayed treatment, reports of medical negligence have become an alarming part of the healthcare experience.
When I did the operation, CS for my baby, it was cotton wool that they forgot. They had to go and start washing, evacuating my medicine again before they asked me, when did I do the operation? I say, look at what is causing me bleeding.
According to health experts, understaffing, inadequate training, poor record keeping, and limited accountability are major contributors to these errors.
When you don't have systems that are being enforced in order to minimize the errors that usually lead to negligence, it's likely to happen. On the side of medical practitioners, there are so many contributing factors. I'm not saying that they're always without blame, but there are things that make it more likely for medical negligence or errors to happen. We're overworked, remuneration is poor. Doctors are going on strikes, nurses, lots of healthcare workers. So a mind that is not rested, and especially for me, as a mental health personnel, we see the effects of burnout and all of these things on a person's performance.
Many residents of the country have lost trust in the health institutions, fearing that reporting negligence will be futile.
They feel that they won't get justice because nobody has been prosecuted. There is nothing, we have not had any case except the one that happened recently in Lagos.
There is a big reporting system that is easy and accessible to the people. It will help to, uplifts the standard of medical care generally. Everybody will sit up.
However, there are concerns of weak enforcement of existing laws that protect patients' rights, ignorance and rare sanctions, and many facilities operating without robust patient safety mechanisms.
The law has made provision that when a case like this happens, in this type of matter, you could go to court. It could be a civil matter. There are matters where it could be criminal, liable. And then there are matters where you could actually refer them to the medical and dental practitioner disciplinary tribunal, where they could bring the doctor, the hearing doctor, ask questions during the investigation, and they could make a verdict.
While medical negligence remains a silent crisis in Nigeria, patients and families continue to bear the consequences. But stronger enforcement, better reporting systems, and greater public awareness, according to experts, are crucial if change is to come. For now, many Nigerians continue to hope that the healthcare system will live up to its promise of care and not harm. In Abuja, for News Central, Aisha Salihu.
That's just a random sample size, a random vox pop done in Abuja. And the woman talked about the medical practitioner forgetting a cotton wool, which led to internal bleeding. I mean, this could have gone very, very south and led to a loss of life. We really need to do something about overhaul the healthcare system in Nigeria and also pay attention to the needs of medical workers and practitioners. It feels like sometimes the problems are just overwhelming in every sector. You talk about transportation, you talk about safety, security, and now the healthcare. But we do need to do something about it.
I always say this, I think we're a ticking time bomb. And just this morning on Wake Up Conversation, when I highlighted the housing deficit, good enough, I remember here on Breakfast Central, we did bring agents. I just remember we brought in agents and lawyers, where we had a special on the housing deficit and the issue of rent concerning the Nigerian, every Nigerian is faced with these challenges. This is the medical sector, another major problem. The problem is we are having doctor issues. We don't have enough doctors. We've talked about this multiple times.
And even the ones that we have are overworked.
Absolutely. And now we have equipment issues. I was somewhere and people said, oh, the hospitals, the medical, the hospitals don't have a lot of what they need. They don't have enough. So they're having to work with what they have. We've seen instances where you go to Luth and people have to bring their own generators. And then they say you have to pay extra money for fuel. If not, there'll be no lights to operate on your so person who is ill. These things are happening right before our eyes in 2026. And yet, the medical system, no one has sat down to say, you know what, let's solve this. And my question to
even
everyone
the doctors' demand, the resident doctors,
you understand?
has not been met. It's either they are planning to go on strike.
Why can't, I mean, we're just saying it here, but we have to say it. Why can't we call a state of action or emergency on Nigeria's medical system and say, listen, from February 1st, we are going to attack the issues that are bedeviling the medical sector, and we must deal with them immediately. You have investors. You have Dangote, who has stood out to handle the oil and gas sector. Are we not benefiting from it today? Oh, yes, we are. So where are the other billionaires who are willing to invest? We hear that we travel, we signed a landmark agreement with this country, this nation, but guess what? Your people are dying because of there's no oxygen in the hospital. Syringes we do here, doctors say they have to go and purchase them because there's fake in the market all over.
I mean, and then with all of these things happening, you see that the government seems to just be interested in returning to power and politics. It's a shame.
Who has moved to what party?
If everyone, it's just terrible.
Well,
it's painful.
I've been watching a medical series, New Amsterdam, and it's just finished. I just finished it, I think yesterday or the day before. And I think that challenges in the medical space are not unique to Nigeria. However, you find that there is more incentive over there to do what they have to do. Now, in that series was a public hospital. Obviously, it's not exactly, but you know that art imitates life. So you could see that they were struggling with areas like budget cuts because they had to approve budgets for a number of the changes that they needed to make in the hospital. You know, here in Nigeria, you're one sickness away from poverty and one sickness away from like a really life-threatening illness. And the doctors over there, you find that there's a little bit more, they have more motivation, more empathy, sometimes part because there's more remuneration. So you feel like the effort you're
incentivized.
Putting, yes, they're incentivized. The effort you're putting is not in vain, which our doctors here don't see. It is the doctors in the private sector, you know, the private hospitals that get more remuneration, feel like they're more incentivized to do the work. It's why you will hear that there's an opportunity in Saudi Arabia, and before you know, our doctors
brain drain. Yeah.
You know, there's a huge brain drain. And I don't know that we can use policy, because there's a time the government was talking about initiating policy to mandate them to serve for how many years.
At least 5 years.
I don't know that policy can do that. They will find a way to go abroad, study abroad, and just not come back.
You can't chain them in Nigeria.
You can't chain them, of course. Anyway, with continuations of our coverage of development within the area councils of the Federal Capital Territory, ahead of the February polls, residents of the satellite communities are expressing concerns over the continuous failures of political parties and their candidates to keep their campaign promises. A visit by New Central crew to Kaida Tsoho community in the Gwagwalada Area Council. Residents lament the lack of social amenities such as potable water, schools, and hospitals, including security, as well as empowerment for youth in the community.
I don't know what to see, but like I said, we are being forgotten. Since I've been in this community, politicians have been coming, making promises. We'll come and empower the women. We'll bring this, we'll bring that. In this very community, we are backward in the aspect of education, and that is affecting us. We cannot make any business, nothing.
Rent, motorcycle, car, we want to even carry road to market because the road is not good. But when they are coming to campaign time, they'll promise us, I will do this road.
We are so far to vote, we avoid the election. And this, even this one hall, not only Christian and Muslim. When we are supposed for election, we know the benefit. Even to say this thing, there must be given to chief, other dies with the community, we know they see it. And we are support for both.
Well, in 2026, the kind of conversations we're having, really interesting.
I want to come up with something, and I think we should have it on the show.
I like how you are the creative director, always having new ideas.
Yeah, it should be called Ahead of 2027. We're going to launch that very soon. And I think part of the thing is, it's a self-conscious segment that we should have on Breakfast. I'm going to share just one episode with both of you. I mean, just thought about it.
Tell us, Sensei.
Ahead of 2027, Benga, I'm going to come in here live with those palliatives, and I want to ask questions. If I came with a cup of rice, I want to ask you, this cup of rice, will it determine your future of your son? Just people should now go back, look at your children, look at them in the face.
I think it's beyond palliatives, because all the parties are doing it. All the parties are guilty of, of doing it. So the conversation needs to be about the quality of people you're elected. And how can a local government form,
no road,
be 30 million naira? What are you trying to promote? Of course, the person is going to go there and still. A local government area in Ebonyi State, the chairmanship form.
30 million.
30 million.
Presidential or governorship, 100 million.
So you know why?
Won't you still?
The entire system needs a overhaul.
So there are many things. One, there's the cost of these forms, because a lot of people are investing money in you with the idea that when you get there and you
put them in power.
Remember them and you put them in power. Is why a lot of the appointments we see don't look like they're merit-based. It feels like it's a thank you to the people who invested. That's one. Two, we need to do away with lifetime payments of pensions and allowances to people who have served in government. And that's not to say that they shouldn't be paid pensions, but not what currently exists. What we currently have is that people who have served as presidents and governors a number of times are still earning the same thing with the incumbent. So they have the same allowances, they have the same security, they have the same access to payments for their staff, cooks, and all the staff really that they have employed. When you have that, you will see that people will keep fighting to remain in power, to get into power, is why they will do anything. Kudos to Governor Alex Oti, who has then overturned this in Abia State to ensure that once you've served your time in office and you leave, you will not be earning the same salary as an incumbent. And he'll be the first recipient, because when he leaves office, he will not be earning this. So for those who think, it's why many people have criticized the coming together of governors who have tried to lay several accusations against him and several charges against him, because they say, look, the collective outcome of all your times in office, vis-a-vis this man's how many years in office, we can see the difference. What have you achieved? So if you are there fighting for yourself, you're fighting for your own pocket, where does the Nigerian citizen come into play? We're talking about not having enough funds, not having enough money. Every other day we're borrowing. We're talking about budget. What is our budget funding? Funding lifetime salaries? Think about it.
In the midst of 1% for poverty.
That's like one of the biggest stories that every single Nigerian should think.
Yeah, that's the
only
elephant in the room.
1%.
Yeah.
Anyway, let us know your thoughts. We're still streaming live on YouTube via News Central TV Live. We're going to break, and when we come back, we have breakfast headlines, of course. With the Breakfast Central show continues in a moment, and Benga Borough will be bringing you breakfast headlines. Stay with us.
Thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central. Let's take a look at the top stories on Breakfast Headlines. We'll start off in Abuja, where operatives of the Department of State Services, DSS, have arrested former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami. The arrest took place on Monday in front of Kuje Correctional Center shortly after Malami was released. Video footage circulated on social media, as you can see there on the screen, shows the former AGF walking toward DSS's vehicle, requesting the operatives to show official identification before entering. A security source confirmed to our journalists that several petitions have been filed against Malami, including allegations of terrorism financing. A source emphasized that no responsible government could ignore such serious claims, regardless of the individual's position. Let's stay now with security matters. The Kaduna State Police Command and local authorities have dismissed reports claiming that over 100 worshippers were abducted in Kajuru local government area of the state. The police described the reports as falsehoods allegedly spread by what they termed conflict entrepreneurs bent on disrupting the state's relative peace. Earlier reports had claimed that the armed gangs abducted dozens of worshippers during Sunday services at two churches in Kormi Wali, a forest community in Afogo Ward, with a church leader alleging that more than 160 people were taken. Speaking after a State Security Council meeting in Kaduna, Police Commissioner Muhammad Rabiu challenged those spreading the claims to provide names and details of the alleged victims. He warned that anyone found spreading false information would face the full weight of the law. The chairman of Kajuru local government area, Dauda Madaki, also backed the police, saying security forces were immediately deployed to the community but found no evidence of any attack. Authorities say efforts are ongoing to maintain peace and prevent the spread of misinformation in the state.
Yesterday, we were informed that there is bandit attack in Kuruminwali, in Kajuru local government. We quickly mobilized our policemen, military and other security agencies to the area. But to our dismay this morning, till now that we are speaking, nobody is able to come out with any figure or name of any person that is kidnapped from that community. Our policemen, the chairman of the local government and other agencies were at the scene of crime, alleged scene of crime. We went there. Till now, there is no information about any attack or any kidnapping of over 300 persons. And on this, I want to warn some of these troubleshooters. Please stop giving out false information to those discredit the state and the security agencies. We are always ready to deal with any situations. And if they didn't stop this kind of menaces, we are going to arrest anybody that is found wanting.
Meanwhile, the district head of Dakachin Kormin Wali Ishaku Dan Azumi has countered the police claim, insisting that the attack on the community did happen. Dan Azumi, who said he is one of the victims that escaped the attack, spoke in an exclusive interview with News Central, describing a terrifying ordeal. He painted a grim picture of the incident, maintaining that armed attackers invaded the area and targeted worshippers during Sunday services.
Akwai sarrafin 1 and 2 da ya kwata zin. At least 170 din 177 din ne sai mu da mun gani wanda mun aika kalendar wanda sun escape din da 11 people. Shi ya sa kajin sun zama 100. Ni dai da mun tafi dan ce ma sojoji sun zo amma sun zo sai a garin mu sai sun koma yau kuma sojoji sun sake sun zo garin mu sun sake koma to yanzu yi na jawabi dai da cewa ya hakuri ne abin da ya faru na gwamna bai zo wasu da yake da shi ya koma yau dai shi ne gwamna fensa fensa abin da chairman ne ya gaya mana ke a gaskiya ga mana nima yadda ma ce chairman ne zai zo da sojojin na ba da yana nan a gida to mu dai in dai kira gare ku shine jinki Allah ya asa kowa wannan kujerun kuma Allah ya sa kana wurin ba mu da abin da za mu fada ba mu da abin da za mu ce shi dai muna roƙa alfarma mu neman tallafi ya ba mu samu noma da damunan nan ba ganakin da ya kamata mu yi noman ba mu zuwa bayan dakuna ne kawai muna dan lallawa domin ma ba mu da abin da za a masar ma a ce za a yi wannan abin ina gaya maka ba su da ana bin ma nan gari wanda an kwashe mutanen lafiya da na dj saboda sun shiga ma ran 11 din nan dauka mutanen da jiri ya ranar club din nan in su same ka gona da nisa kai zai tafi da kai to kasan dj suna daji ya za mu yi ba sai mu koma bayan dakuna ba to bayan dakuna ne ma muna da lallaba to shine gashi nan yanzu ba abincin da za mu cin ma balantane za mu sayar to ni roƙona shine duk inda.
Well, I'll show you that government activities in the nation's capital was halted on Monday as workers of the Federal Capital Territory Administration commenced an indefinite strike action. Well, the shutdown follows the expiration of 7-day ultimatum issued by the Joint Union Action Congress, JUAC, which accused the administration of failing to address critical welfare concerns. Following commencement of the strike, the main FCTA secretariat in Garki and offices across the 6 area councils remain under lock and key, with union officials turning back staff and visitors at the gates. The workers are protesting the alleged legal tenure elongation of retired permanent secretaries, the non-payment of promotion arrears, and the failure to remit pension and housing fund deductions.
We're talking of intimidation of staff. We're talking of non-remittance of our pension. And so we know it's going to affect our future. We're talking of elongation of tenure for directors and permanent secretaries that are due to retire. When they like you, they just keep you, and it stunts our growth. They brought out success rate of 22.5%. If that is how dunce we've been in the FCT, I don't think we'll be where we are today. And so we called them because this is the first time we're doing a CBT exam. Recall the papers and let's sit on a round table and see what exactly is wrong. I can categorically tell you here that there were glitches. There was power failure, and just power would go off. And they don't come back to look into that. There was power failure here. Time is up, time is up. There were glitches like invalid login details. So you're sitting at your computer, you try to log in, it tell you invalid. There was overcrowdedness. It was just not the way decent exams are being conducted.
Here on Breakfast Headlines, we do have our correspondent Sager Ibrahim, who joins me live concerning this ongoing workers' strike. Sager, thanks for being here. Can you give us an update on what the situation really is this morning?
Good morning, Joe. So far, there was a statement by the spokesperson for the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory in the airline, stating that about 10 out of that 14 of the demands that have been put forth by the staff of the Federal Capital Territory Administration have been met. But then again, upon conversing with the President of the Joint Union Action Committee, I saw her comments. She said they will be responding to that. The expectation is by 10 a.m. this morning, they will be conversing in front of the Federal Capital Territory Secretariat at that ministry. And then they will continue with, of course, this demonstration. They will continue with this strike action, which is not over. She said it is still on until their demands are met or until we get to some form of compromise or negotiation. They remain out of office and on the street, demanding for the implementation of some of these items that she raised earlier in her interview.
Okay, so earlier on we have been told that these protesters, or better still, these workers feel like a lot has not been accomplished. Has there been any response, especially from the FCT, in terms of either the FCT minister or anyone from the government that has been able to call for either a session, a meeting, a press conference, name it, whichever?
Yes. So, of course, when the indefinite strike action broke out yesterday, the response was by the spokesman, like I mentioned earlier, who released a statement to the effect, actually stating that he had met that the Federal Capital Territory Administration had met 10 out of 14 of these demands. But then the Joint Union Action Committee, which is the union that is spearheading the indefinite strike action as we are seeing now, is saying that that is not the case. So there's a bit of back and forth. Of course, we're expecting that today the Joint Union Action Committee will be responding to the statement put forth by the ministry to say which part of the 10 demands they claim has been fulfilled by the ministry was actually fulfilled, and whether in its entirety it was or it was not. So for now, as it stands, they say the strike continues. What the Federal Capital Territory Administration had mentioned also in the statement is for an allowance of some form of dialogue between the ministry and also these workers to ensure that at the quickest possible time, other workers are able to resume operations. Before that, some other unions had actually withdrawn from the strike action, stating, including doctors within the FCT, that they will not be joining the strike. But the Joint Union Action Committee, in its own magnanimity, is stating that the strike is wholesome and it covers every staff working within the FCT. So expectation is that there will be some form of negotiation going on today. And if that is not the case, of course, we'll be hearing from both parties to see what the next round of conversations is going to look like. So,
thank you so much, Sergey Ibrahim. I'm sure you can join Sergey at 12 o'clock when Blessings comes on the air for the 12 report. By then, hopefully there will be an update concerning this story. Thanks for your time. And that does it for the breakfast headlines. Don't forget, we're still here. We do have the front pages of the newspaper, so do us a favor, stay with us. And you can also be an eyewitness by sending in a report or a news story to News Central's WhatsApp number that you would find shortly on the screen right there. We'll go on a break. When we come back, the front pages of the newspapers is up next. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. It's time for us to bring you the papers, the newspapers. We hear it's raining in some parts of Lagos. Is it raining where you are? Or, well, it's starting to rain. But we're about to rain with, I was trying to rhyme, didn't enter. We're about to rain the newspapers. And joining us to analyze the newspapers this morning is publisher of the niche newspaper, Ikechukwu Amechi. Good to have you here, sir.
Warm welcome to you, sir. Thanks for having us. But before we get to it, Joe, I know you're not a doctor, but can you help me check Olive's temperature and see if everything is okay? Okay.
It's hot too.
Olive, you need to deploy your HMO after this show.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, HR. I'll come and deploy it. Let's get into the newspaper. First story. This Nigerian newspaper, dispute over alleged abduction of 163 in Kaduna
the
churches.
Numbers keep changing.
Police council insists no attack occurred and they're demanding victims list. Can maintains claim. Let's start with that story.
Well, when the story broke yesterday, I didn't want to rush in publishing the story. I deployed my news editor,
right,
Ishaya Ibrahim, to look at the story and let us have the facts. Incidentally, Ishaya is from Borno, but he is more of a Kaduna person because their family was chased out of Borno, so they now live in Kaduna. So he's a Kaduna boy and knows all the people involved. So and he said he knows the CAN chairman, and that I said, okay, place a call to him. And he called the man, and the man confirmed, insisted that 3 churches were attacked and some number of people were adopted. That was when we now ran the story. Now it is, of course, the police and the state government came thereafter to make their denial that nothing like that happened, and that if anybody is saying that there were some adoptions in Kaduna on Sunday, that they should bring the evidence, the names
list,
of people who were adopted. I don't want to believe that the Christian Association of Nigeria is lying that some people were adopted. The number may be a little in dispute. If you ask me, I think that we are beginning to play the politics of don't report, as if you don't report, the whole crisis goes away. I will err on the side of caution by saying that there were some adoptions in Kaduna on Sunday, that what the state government and the police are trying to do is to mitigate the crisis in such a way as to, and don't forget what is being said, that the people who were adopted, whether 162, whether 150, whether 170 something, are Christians. And therefore it dovetails into the narrative of Christian persecution in Nigeria. I don't think that the Kaduna state government, which, if you ask me, has also done relatively well in terms of fighting insecurity, since the present governor came in 2023, I think there is a considerable decrease in incidents of violence, whether it is ethnic, whether it is religious or so, but there is a very considerable compared to what it was before he came in. So, but that should not mean that if there is any case or cases of adoption, that you should also be in denial because you want to continue creating the impression that you are working. We know you have worked. We know because we knew what the situation was before you came in. But if there were really adoptions, and like I said, I'm inclined to believe it because we spoke to the CAN chairman himself, and I don't think he'll be so frivolous as to come out to say there were adoptions if there were no adoptions. So the police should investigate and dig deeper. I think what they should do, rather than pushing it across, is to invite the people who are making the allegations, the people who are saying that this and this happened, and they should be able to trash it out. If there are adoptions, Nigerians should be told that there are adoptions. You don't solve the problem by sweeping the death under the carpet.
Right. Well, on YouTube, Pius Amako, thank you very much, Pius, first of all, for the compliment. Pius Amako goes ahead to say, meanwhile, instead of allegedly lobbying the U.S. with $9 million, why not stop the insecurity once and for all? Is it that difficult? Now, wow, I feel for those in Kaduna. Please keep the comments coming. We'll take them from YouTube. But we have Chima calling from Benue State. Good morning, Chima. Thanks for calling. Please go ahead with your comment.
Good morning.
Hello, Chima. Your comment, we can hear you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Like I often say, we have to place premium. I mean, the government, the citizens have to place premium on human lives. It seems our political elite do not value the lives of Nigerians. Because you can imagine these killings, abductions have been going on for so long. It happened in Benue here. And then it's as if we have turned a blind eye on that. And this the victims of this attack are still in agony, are still in penury. What has the government done to at least bring succor to these people? And today we are talking of another attack or abduction in Kaduna, and the government is not even responsible or bold enough to tell the citizens the truth. I mean, we have to speak truth to power in this country if we want to move forward. Thank you.
Comment. We have to speak truth to power in this country if we want to move
you know,
forward.
the downside of trying to minimize assuming that the adoptions are true. If you remember, I think the Chibok girls in 2014, for almost 2 weeks, the government was in denial and said, how can such number of girls be taken? And they were denying until it became apparent that those girls were taken away. And the implication is that in the 2 weeks or so it took for the government to actually admit that there were adoptions, even if the girls were to be rescued, nothing like that happened again. So we cannot fight insecurity by being in denial. If people are killed, then they are killed. There is this school of thought that says what the terrorists want is publicity. And therefore, when you report, you are giving them oxygen, because that's actually what they want. They want to create fear. They want to ensure that people get to know about their actions. But you don't solve any problem by not reporting what the atrocities that they are committing.
You're doing a huge disservice to the victims.
Exactly. So if you are denying when people have been kidnapped, then how are you going to solve the problem? If an American is killed, for instance, in Afghanistan, it is reported that 20 Americans have been killed. If anybody is... So you don't fight terrorism by downplaying what has transpired. You acknowledge that this happened, but we are going to take the fight to these people. I think that's the best way to do it, rather than denying and saying no such thing happened, if it did happen. And I believe, like I said, that I don't believe that the CAN chairman will be so frivolous as to come out to say this happened without having evidence that some people, some churches were attacked and some people were taken away.
We just had a security expert join us, Dr. Kaida Tsoho, and he said he agrees that he has gotten from the grapevine that there was indeed an attack. Although the numbers a bit sketchy, but he said there was an assault, an attack rather, that was carried out.
Our news editor, Ishaya Ibrahim, a Kaduna boy, I made sure that he spoke to the people and he got them on tape that this happened. There were attacks in Kaduna on churches on Sunday.
Anyway, let's take a look at still the front page of this Nigeria still. Tinubu orders investigation of Kano housewife's murder, 6 children. Another sad story that came out from the weekend. A mother was killed and 6 of her children, apparently one of the child was even thrown into the well. Very sad.
2?
Yeah, 2 of them, apparently. Family alleges medical laxity, $600 million over Shell engineer's death. You have the picture on front page there. ATM transactions galloped to 36.34 trillion naira in 6 months. Ooh, wow. But let's take the front picture, the one you have there, the scooping of diesel.
You know, Joe, I told somebody yesterday who, when again we published the story, and somebody sent me a text and said, is this real? I said it is. But, and the woman said, this is unbelievable. I said, it is sheer stupidity. Now, this is not just about poverty. This is stupidity. And it was only God that saved Lagos yesterday. Imagine if there was a spark of fire yesterday. The disaster that could have happened in Lagos yesterday. You know, when the Pentecostals, every Sunday, I think Olive is one of them. Every Sunday they go to church and look at that. And they are giving testimonies. I used to tell people that we all have our miracles every day, and what happened yesterday is
one of them.
Is a miracle. That there could be this level of, because what it takes is for even a telephone call. A telephone call.
Yes.
That's why people are advised, when you are pouring fuel in a generator, don't use
the touch.
Your phone.
Or when you're buying fuel at the station.
Exactly. Don't take calls or don't make calls from there. So anything could have sparked fire yesterday, and imagine the number of people who could have had another Jesse.
Yeah, and it would have gone on the bridge, the tanker would have exploded, the traffic on the bridge would have been affected, it would have been another Jesse. Exactly.
I said the disaster would have been unimaginable. So why would people at this time and age still go, how much money will they make from, okay, you succeed in getting
50 liters.
50 liters. How much money is that?
And
compared to the risk,
your life,
that people took. Whether it is going to be the National Orientation Agency, or I think government must continue to sensitize people on dangers inherent in us.
So government should tell you not to put your hand in fire and not to use your intuition to run away from the natural human behavior should be to flee from danger.
Well, Benga, what do you say? Like I said, it is sheer stupidity, because there's no other way to explain it. It's not, yes, now some people have said that it shows actually how poor people are. But poverty does not becloud your sense of reasoning.
That's a suicide mission.
Your perception of danger. Because this is danger that is there. Like I said, it was only God that saved Lagos and Nigeria. And all we would have been hearing this morning would have been front page news of 200 people
burned
to ashes.
Let's, we have Joe calling. Joe, not Hansen. Jonathan is calling. Good morning, Jonathan. Thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Yes, that is Jonathan from Kingsley.
All right. Calling. Please go ahead, and if you can speak up, we're struggling to hear you.
We have observed for a long time that the government is always interested in image laundering.
Jonathan, we're sorry, we can't hear you. It's very unclear.
Just try and call back. It's not too clear. I'd like you to call back. All right. Yes.
So Nigerians should be careful. Nigerians should be careful. Poverty is not an excuse to commit suicide. Because what these guys were trying to do yesterday, apparently, whether they knew it or not, they were on a suicidal mission. That they got lucky yesterday does not mean that the next batch who will also try that will be lucky.
And isn't it shocking that if the National Orientation Agency was really pushing against this, maybe we would have seen, I keep saying it, making a video debunking or making a strong statement in today's era that we live in is a must. So if you quickly put out a statement and make it clear that, listen, we will not stand for this, and if people are not arrested, because I saw a man in that video, he was drenched. It was as if he was going into a swimming competition. He was drenched in diesel. I was like, who is this?
And that's the other point I wanted to make. Look, to actually serve as a deterrent. I think some people should be arrested.
I agree.
We have this video. Some people should be arrested and tried.
Because what they're also doing, people always forget,
like being
that criminal is theft. It's also theft.
We have Ebuka. Let's take a call. Ebuka from Delta State. Ebuka, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, Ebuka. Please go ahead.
Yes. You see, what you are seeing there is a barometer to measure the economic prosperity of Delta State, of Nigeria. That is exactly what they will use to measure all those indicators that they are flying around. Economic prosperity, inflation is going down, people are enjoying. That is the indicator. Then on the other side of it, the first news headline that you pointed about adoption or no adoption, it's like when you go and check your BP, and then you find out that your BP is reading 200, and then your doctor calls you and says, what is the situation? He said, no, it's normal, it's 120. You are only deceiving yourself. So these governments, the current government we have today in Nigeria, they came by propaganda. They are continuing to rule by propaganda. Self-denial. There is a problem. Why not say the way it is so that you're able to address it? There's no way you are going to lick this wound. The situation is glaring. Everywhere you turn to is crisis. The whole 80% of the news headline in Nigeria today is talking about crisis. So that's just my little contributions. Well, what you see, the analyst is talking about somebody self-awareness. How can you be when you are hungry? And these are the people that will go and vote. Look at those. These are the people that will determine who becomes the leaders of Nigeria tomorrow. Somebody in that state, how can he make a choice? How can such a person make a choice? He has been beaten to a point of stupidity. So whatever choice that person makes is a bad choice. And they are larger in number. They are over 80% of people in that category. So you can preempt what the outcome of the next election will be on the evidence of the analogies that you are seeing today. Because they will just give them handouts. 5,000 naira will be too much. And they will vote for such persons. I will be there for the next 4 years again. Thank you. That's my contribution.
Okay, Ebuka, thank you for calling.
The point that I was making is the issue that, yes, there is poverty, but you don't go and do what these guys did yesterday in an apparent suicide mission. Because at the end of the day, you get 50 liters of petrol. How much is it going to fetch you when, if there was a fire outbreak yesterday, the whole nation would have still been in trauma up to this moment? There is hunger in the land, but there are some things that being hungry cannot excuse you. Because, look, we must be very, very careful in how we handle these situations. You don't commit suicide because you are hungry. And what those guys wanted to commit yesterday
is suicide. Well,
suicide.
The only suicide mission a number of these people know is suicide mission movie. Any other thing, they
don't see it as suicide.
Let's move to the Punch newspaper. I think it's very important that we'll take the front page of the Punch. The front page talks about amnesty deal. While we're talking about the potential of citizens, of Nigerians being kidnapped, not potential, because from what we're hearing now, it's confirmed reports. The people in churches were kidnapped, abducted in Kaduna State. Now in Katsina State, outrage mounts as Katsina moves to release 70 bandits. Tinubu told to stop release of bandits on trial. ACF, Afenifere, others slam Katsina government over amnesty deal. Now, we're seeing here that Afenifere Arewa Consultative Forum, Ohaneze Indigbo, the Middle Belt Forum and others have expressed outrage over a plan by the Katsina State government to release 70 bandits as part of measures to patch up a floundering peace pact with bandit leaders. Mr. Ikechukwu Amechi, while we're dealing with insecurity, we're still going back to this whole, you know, carrot and stick approach. I want you to sit on that, non-kinetic approach rather. I want you to sit on that in a moment. We'll come back to talk about that. But we're following up with the case of Anthony Joshua, who unfortunately lost his friends due to a terrible accident. His driver was taken to court. And today is a day for the court hearing. We have our correspondent, Nii Omoni, who brings us details. Good morning, Nii. How are you today?
Good morning, Olive. Good morning, the team. I'm good.
All right, Nii, can you bring us up to speed with what is happening? Where are you first? And what is happening today regarding the case of the driver who was behind the wheels on that unfortunate day?
Yeah, the incident that happened on that day was no just minimal local issue. It's not just international, it's even global. And that's why much attention is given to these case, if I can put it in that way, noting that the driver, the 46-year-old driver of Anthony Joshua, in the person of Adini Mobolaji Kayode, was remanded and, of course, accused and charged with various charges, one most important one, manslaughter, amongst other things, which carries a sentence of almost life imprisonment based on the discretion of the court. However, today is supposed to be the day for definite hearing, and inside the court there, the prosecuting counsel pushed for a duplication of the case file to be sent through the Attorney General of the state to the Department of Public Prosecution for legal advice. And immediately the counsel to the driver immediately reacted to that, noting that if they have their witnesses, because the prosecuting counsel had about 3 witnesses, 1 absent, it's supposed to be 4 present in court, that they're supposed to go ahead with the hearing. However, the prosecuting counsel pushed that they get legal advice from the Department of Public Prosecution. The counsel to the defendant tried to wade in, noting that the case should go on. But of course, based on discretion of the court, the case has been adjourned to 25th of February, pardon me. And that was after a back and forth because the prosecuting counsel wanted it to be in March. But now it has been adjourned to the 25th of February. I'm talking about the bail conditions. According to the counsel to the defendant, he noted that the defendant has met the bail condition. If he will be remanded or if he will be released, however, I could not speak to that. But if you can look just behind me, the defendant is currently somewhere there in a hoodie, a black hoodie. I could just try to read the expression on his face while I was in court. It looked a little bit absent-minded. Of course, you can't tell what's on his mind, but of course, he looks worried. And I'm sure he hoped that today would be the day all these will go down and be able to know what his fate is. Currently, we can't confirm if he's going to be remanded or released, but we're waiting for the prosecuting counsel to come out so we can hear more from him, especially as regards the charges. We can confirm manslaughter is there. One in particular says he's driving without his license, and so many other ones that we also saw on the charge sheet. For now, we're waiting for him to come out, and we'll be able to give more update as regards that.
All right. Thank you, Nii, for bringing us updates. We would connect with you again. And once again, our condolences to as many who are mourning the loss of, these 2 men. And I can't imagine how this has changed the lives of everyone involved, from the ones who have been deceased to Anthony Joshua and even the driver himself as well. Thank you very much, Nii. All right, let's now come back into the studio. We're speaking about the front page of the Punch newspaper, where we saw outrage mounts as Katina moves to release 70 bandits. Mr. Ikechukwu, we're back to the non-kinetic approach that has been highly criticized by a number of Nigerians. The spokesperson, Mr. Gumi, Sheikh Gumi, oftentimes has also come under criticism because he has openly spoken about being in support of this approach. Are we not tired?
What is going on in Katsina State? In the first place, it is not quite correct to say we are back. We have always been there. We've never left this idiocy in the name of governance. there are 34 local governments in Katsina State. As we speak, 18 of the 34 local governments have subsisting agreement passed with bandits, peace agreement with bandits. And you know, it is even sadder when you remember that Katsina State was the state of the immediate past president, late Muhammadu Buhari, a man who swept into office in 2015 on the grounds that a retired general of the Nigerian army, he would have the capacity to deal with all manner of terrorism, insecurity in the country. At the end of the day, insecurity as a cancer metamorphosed under him and became almost incurable. Now, Katsina State, 34 local governments, 18 have subsisting agreements with bandits. In some of these local governments, almost the administration, the functions of the state, the Nigerian state, have been ceded to non-state actors who now determine when you go to your farm, how much money you pay to be allowed to move from one point to the other. And these guys are being paid every month. So this granting of amnesty to 70 is just part of something that you can't wrap your head around it. That in the 21st century, a country that calls itself a sovereign, that citizens owe allegiance to non-state actors, while state actors pay for non-state actors to protect citizens. That's the absurdity of what we have. And you know, I say it always here, that my problem with the APC government is that they believe that propaganda is everything. The lies, the innuendos, they believe that you can run a state solely based on propaganda. And therefore, they will be the first people to tell you that insecurity has been tamed, that what these guys are doing, even when military barracks are attacked and soldiers killed, they say it is soft targets.
There was an attack yesterday in Zamfara State. I believe a number of about 6 soldiers lost their lives and policemen. I want to quickly take you on the dangers of allowing this sort of system to perpetuate itself. What do you think will be the end result?
The end result is that these guys are emboldened.
It's an industry.
It has become an industry in its own. So the guys are so emboldened that, look, how can you stop them when they are holding the state to ransom? Apart from the agreement that you have signed with them, where you pay them money every month so that they will keep the peace, you are now releasing, they are now giving you conditions that for there to be peace, the peace that you are seeking, for there to be peace, then our members who are in detention, some of them have been tried and convicted, should be released. How on earth can anybody explain that? And just these past few days, a woman and her 6 children were murdered in Kaduna.
Yeah. Do you know what's even worse, Mr. Mechi? The fact that you're taking this story, and if you look at the top corner of the Punch newspaper, you'll see that The military discovers Boko Haram underground storage and fuel dump. We cannot exhaust, I mean, look at it, top right corner, literally just there. So while we're talking about releasing bandits, they are discovering how very well, structured these guys are.
And the National Security Advisor has not spoken against the release of these 70 bandits. No comments.
Anyway.
How will he speak? Do you expect him to speak? Because now for them, they have technically defeated bandits, not terrorists. So how would you, and part of the technical defeat is not that they are giving you conditions. They are literally running Katsina State.
And we don't want to get to the point where we're seeing more states under the control of Boko Haram. Mr. Mechi, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank
you to our virtual audience, our physical audience, every guest who's joined us. We'll be back again, same time tomorrow. Jasiri takes off the show in the next few minutes. I am Olive MOD.
And we are Joe Hansen and Benga Baroa.
I was wondering what's going on, guys. See you tomorrow.